Hey everybody, this is the Dower Duo again with another Trail Talks, and today we're going to be talking with Puppet. So, hey Puppet, how's it
Hi.
going? We met Puppet for the first time on the day after Max Patch. So you may have heard stories about Max Patch before, where most of us were really sick. But yeah, so we ran into her first then, and then again after Hot Springs. And so Puppet can tell you a quick story about that. And then another big memory I have, what was Partnership Shelter, where we all ordered pizza and stuff like that.
With you and
Yeah.
Pick. You and Pick were there.
And so it was like those three run-ins, and after that point, it seemed like we actually started hiking together from then on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
The topic of today is going to be kind of focused around eating, but specifically with Puppet, it's going to be how to eat vegan, how to be vegan on the trail.
Yeah, because Puppet was vegan. She's vegan before and after, but during the entire trail, she ate vegan and stayed really true to that. So we would really like to kind of get her advice on that because we know nothing about being vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, Puppet, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell us when you started and when you ended and just a little bit in between?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Florida, and that's where I live now. I decided in 2017 that I wanted to hike, and then I started in 2019, March 17th. So I started the trail with Nav. We met maybe 6 months before the trail, maybe a little bit less than that, and started together. And then I finished on September 9th is when I summited Katahdin. I got injured in the end of Shenandoah, and I took 10 days off. And in that 10 days of time, I missed about 180 miles. And that's why I decided that I wanted to stick with you guys and the whole crew. So I skipped that and then went back and did that after I summited Katahdin. So I finished that sometime in October. I don't remember the exact day that I wrapped all that up.
Yeah, cool.
Was it hard
Yeah.
to finish Katahdin and then have to go back and do that section, or was it still kind of nice to still be out there?
You know, at first I was like dreading it because I was kind of like, oh man, everyone's having their moment. I'm not going to have my moment. But like that was, once I got to that final week, I felt like I was done. I was still like, I think I had the same like high as everybody else of like finishing the trail. And at first I thought it was going to be a chore to go back, but I was so happy because I think it was easier to transition back into real life because it was kind of like a halfway of doing it. I wasn't like, I did the trail that I had to make up in little chunks because I had my car with me. So I had to like park it somewhere, get dropped back. And I would take like a day off in between, and then I like visited my family. So it was kind of like integrating myself back in a couple days and then, you know, real world. So it was actually really nice. And it was cool to see that area in the fall instead of like,
I bet.
summer. Yeah, it was pretty.
All the crunchy leaves and stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, like Jonathan mentioned before, we're going to talk to Puppet mostly about diet and being vegan on trail and what that looks like. So our first question for you, Puppet, is how long were you vegan before, and what does being vegan mean to you?
So I was vegan, I think March 2017, I think is when I started. So I'm like almost, all this happened around the same time. So I'm coming up on like 3 years now. And I became vegan for like environmental reasons. So typically vegans have like three main things, either for health, animals, or environment, or like all three. And it was the easiest way for me to make the biggest impact with like lowering my carbon footprint and like that kind of thing. So I did some research about it, and that was really like my main reason. And then, you know, through research and stuff like that, I learned about, you know, the ethics of animals and then there's like tons of health benefits, but I don't really like, there's healthy ways to be vegan, and then there's like the junk foody ways to be vegan, and
that the trail forces you.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
So like depending on the day is, you know, how healthy or unhealthy I want to be. But really like the gist of it is just not consuming animal products in any way possible if you can help it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice. I don't think I've met a lot of people who are vegan for environmental reasons. There's a lot of vegan and vegetarians down here, but it's mostly like health reasons and just knowing like red meat's bad, I guess.
Red meat bad.
Yeah. But that's cool. That's awesome. Great.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I asked on the Facebook group, the Appalachian Trail Facebook group, and a lot of people are asking why. And so I think that like explains it, like for environmental reasons, some people want to be vegan.
It's the way that I can make the biggest impact. Like I need a car to get to work, and I need, a lot of these things in my life that do make waste and things like that contribute. So the easiest way that I can make the biggest impact is by not consuming meat, which, is like one of the leading greenhouse effect the meat industry is. So that's kind of where it all started for me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
When you started thinking of the trail, so if you started this in 2017, when did you start thinking of the trail? Was that 2018 or were you thinking it like
she's 2017? She's thinking
sorry. So I started thinking of the trail in 2017. I think I don't remember the exact day, but like I didn't even know what the Appalachian Trail was. Like it was a term that I had heard, and then I was like on the YouTube like black hole one day, and a Dixie video came up, and I, what's this? What's she doing? And then I watched everyone, and I was like, I'm gonna do that one day.
Yeah.
And I remember going on a trip to Colorado, February 2017, and talking like we were in the mountains and being like, one day I'm gonna hike in some mountains like this, and my boyfriend was probably like, okay, what is she doing? I talked about it like it was gonna happen, and like that's my first memory of like having it in my mind.
Yeah.
So, and then I started my second job, March 2017, with the intent of like that job was solely for this trip. So.
Yeah. To like save up money for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started thinking about actually like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it in 2019. How did you prep for food, and did you ever kind of doubt the ability to be vegan on the trail when it comes to like, I guess we'll get into more like resupply and like what your options were later, but I guess in advance looking forward, did you ever kind of doubt like, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with like being vegan this whole time
during the trail?
Sure. So I don't think I really started researching the food aspect of any of it until like 6 months before. That was, I had never backpacked before this, so like my main research was just like, how do you live? What do you bring? And once I started looking into the food aspect, I had already been vegan for like over a year. So it was kind of like just a way of life. It becomes like second nature. It's almost like being out on the trail. The things that were difficult in the beginning just like become second nature. Same with eating vegan. It's like I didn't really think about it. My main concern was resupply. So I did a lot of research on, types of food that I could bring, and then how to do like boxes that you mail to yourself and things like that. So maybe like 6 months before is when I started planning. And I didn't really have too many concerns with staying vegan because I knew that if I tried hard enough, like I wasn't tempted with, making non-vegan choices that I could. Yeah, it was just a matter of like getting crafty with the options you have.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I'll let you ask the next question, but you mentioned like putting together boxes. Did you do a lot of, what's it called, drop ships? What are they?
Like drop boxes.
Drop boxes, yeah. Did you do a lot of, because I don't really remember. Yeah.
I planned on doing them, and I bought so much food. I'll have to send you a picture so maybe you can insert it, like my little resupply like station that I had set up ahead of time.
Oh man,
so ridiculous. Like I bought tons of Pop-Tarts because the uniced Pop-Tarts are vegan, so I bought tons of those. I think the little Justin's nut butter packets Had a sale at Target where they were like 75 cents each, and I went to 3 Targets in my town and bought every single nut butter packet.
Oh my gosh.
I need this, and I think I did 2 or 3 drop-offs the whole time.
Wow.
And so when I got back, I think I still have nut butter packets that I'm working my way through.
I think we just finished eating our Cliff Bars.
Yeah, I ate my last one today. I was
Oh,
sick.
really?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
so I had a huge stash. It's just not convenient. And that's when I did my research, everybody was saying, don't do drop boxes. It's such a pain. And I didn't listen. I was like, no, I can do it right. I'm going to, right. It has nothing to do with prepping ahead of time. It's all like, you don't want to eat the same thing you ate in the beginning of the trail. And your taste changed so much. So, yeah.
And I mean, I can't think of, like, for people that like stay on the trail the whole time and finish, like, I can't think of anyone that really did that to resupply. Like,
towards the end, at least. I mean, towards the end, we didn't have anyone that we saw around us. I mean, you were there too, but like, there was nobody that was like, oh, I have to go to this post office because of the food that I bought myself.
My drop box is here in Maine.
Yeah.
But no, like, I don't know.
Yeah. It was all gear that people were picking up. I don't think they were shipping themselves food. I mean, in hindsight, like, if I did another thru hike, I would probably do boxes just because now I know what I like. I have an idea, get a variety. And it may probably not the whole time, but I would explore that again. But I don't think I zoned in on like what my true like favorites were or anything like that until like the end did I realize what worked, and the rest of the trail was just experimenting. So
yeah, that's the thing about mail drops is that you can do them, especially, I mean, if it's your first thru hike, you don't know what you're going to want to eat on trail. You don't know what's going to have, like, what you're really going to like, because I know for me, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't eat it. Like, I would just leave it for Jonathan. I wouldn't eat it. And he ate a lot of my food. And so then I'd go to the store the next time and get something I did like. So I can't imagine, like, buying all of this food and then being like, well, I hate all of this now. Like, tortillas and, like, Nutella.
I mean, we completely stopped buying Cliff Bars.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, or like certain things, like, you'll just get so sick.
Yeah.
But then, like, the Velveeta biscuit things, like, we never got sick of those.
Right.
So really, like, you never know what you're gonna get absolutely sick of and never want to touch again.
That's the
and the amount of food too. Like, I thought I would be eating so much more food in the beginning than I actually ate. I ended up carrying, I think it took me like 10 days to get through my full first like thing that I like eat every item of my first, when I left.
Yeah.
At the end, yes, I was eating a lot, but like in the beginning, I was not eating nearly as much as I thought I would.
Yeah. Abe was the same way. Honestly, he literally didn't have to buy more food until Hiawassee. And he still had food. Like, until the resupply after Hiawassee, he still had food that he started with.
Yeah.
He was the same
way. I mean, it's kind of understandable.
I mean, Caboose did that the entire time.
Hike your own hike, man. All right, so
anyways, we're way off.
So there was a question on the Facebook group, and I know that a lot of people have this question. But what are some, well, I guess not a question people would have, but just something to bring up is, what are some common misconceptions people have about a plant-based diet and hiking, or even doing any activity? Like, what are the misconceptions that you've heard, like, from people, just in like normal day life and like in the hiking community? Like, how can you be vegan? Because
I think the first common misconception, and I think this is just veganism in general, is that like all you eat is salads. And I mean, I love a salad, but I think I eat a salad the normal amount of times everyone eats a salad, like maybe once a week or so, when I'm not trying to be healthy. And so they're like, well, how do you bring this like raw fruit, raw veggies out on the trail and stuff like that? And that's not, sometimes that's an option, but that's not really conducive to the trail. And the second one is protein. And this, everyone's like first like reaction is when you're vegan, it's like, how do you get your protein? Oh my gosh, you're gonna die without protein. And I mean, that was my first like thing when I started researching veganism, is like, where am I gonna get my protein? And someone explained it to me as, you know, the typical American diet, you get the majority of your protein from like animal meat. But where do the animals get their protein? And, you know, these are cows that eat grass and vegetables. And someone said, like, look at a gorilla. It's like the strongest, like biggest animal. And they eat leaves and things like that. So I was like, okay, yeah. Now, obviously, it's not as simple. I'm not just like eating grass.
Go eat grass.
Right. But there's other places you can get your protein from plants and things like that. It doesn't have to come from animals. And you don't need nearly as much as what people think you do. So.
Nice.
Very good. Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up before we even start the conversation, is just addressing those misconceptions, because I think that's like big for a lot of people in the trails. Like, protein's important. Where do you get it when you're vegan? So yeah, we'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to ask the next question?
Yeah. Well, the next question on our list is, what kind of resources helped you prepare? Well, we kind of touched about your preparation, but were there any other resources that you used?
Yeah, like forums or like any YouTubers.
Yeah, YouTube is the only thing that's sticking out in my mind that I really remember going to. Kotezi Hikes. I don't know if you've watched her videos before. I know she did the PCT. I don't think she did the AT, but she has a video about like what she packs on a vegan resupply, and it was good. Even though I didn't use like all the foods that she packed, it was kind of cool to just see what she was bringing. And so that's the one that sticks out in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably link that down in the description so people can check that out.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll get into like that's like pre-trail, but we'll get into like trail, meat of the trail here. Meat.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you began, did you run into any trouble with your vegan diet? If so, how did you fix it? Anything related?
Yeah, really with the vegan diet, not really. As far as like staying vegan, I didn't really break veganism at all. Like I said, it's just kind of like second nature to me. So, I mean, there were a few times where, you know, something, and it mostly happened like in town. If I ordered something somewhere, you know, it might come with like cheese on it. You know, I just scrape the cheese off and stuff like that. There were a few places where resupply was kind of difficult, gas stations, things like that, but it was never impossible. And then towards the end of the trail, I did start to feel not like performing my best, but I don't attribute that to like my vegan diet. I think it was just so much sugar, and I think you after eating that way out of gas stations and like, you know, a lot of prepackaged food for I think it was starting to catch up to me, and I was at the point towards the end where I didn't want to prepare my own food. I just wanted to buy prepackaged things.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end, you're just trying to get to the end. It's like, I'm not going to tweak what I'm eating. You know, if it's 5 Cliff Bars in a day, I'm going to eat 5 Cliff Bars.
Yeah, that's it.
So there was the sugar crashing at the end, for sure. I think the last, like, month was a constant sugar crash. Eat another bar. Sugar crash. Eat another bar.
Oh, man.
But I think that was a common problem with a lot of people, not necessarily just, like, the vegan hikers. So.
Yeah, right. I mean, we ate so much garbage. It was just garbage the whole time. Yeah.
Trash.
I mean, don't you can, I mean, you can try really hard, but chances are at some point you're going to give in to just eating terribly.
And sometimes you really just want to eat really bad and all that gross stuff. You're like craving it because that's all you have.
Right.
That's
Well, in the
literally all you
beginning,
have.
I was so excited to eat all that stuff because, like, I don't typically eat that stuff in real life. I try to be as clean as possible. I mean, now I'm having to readjust my habits getting back, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty clean in the beginning. So I was so excited to eat, like, all this candy and, you know, different bars and, like, weird things and not feel guilty about it because I was like, I'm hiking all day. It's fine. And then I got to the point where I was kind of hooked on that stuff, whether or not I really liked it, you know, just like craving it. And yeah, it's a downward spiral. But.
Yeah. Well, I guess from there we can go into like the specifics when you were kind of eating the right stuff, when you were like making sure like you're getting this because you need it, you're getting this before like we all hit that stage where you don't care, and, you know. So like for people who like are looking for advice or whatever, I guess specifically, what kind of things did you pick out for yourself, and what kind of things gave you the nutrients that you needed?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of like when I was in my prime, like
your prime grocery store style.
Early Virginia, you know, when I was like, I knew what I was doing, but I was still trying to be pretty healthy. Some sort like a Belvita breakfast biscuit was something great in the morning. Not a huge breakfast eater. So I would have something typically kind of small in the morning. And then like between breakfast and lunch, I would try to eat like a Cliff Bar or something, or a different kind of bar. Cliff Bar makes, not all Cliff Bars are vegan, but they have a ton of flavors that are. And they have one that's got caffeine in it, that's like a toffee one. So that was kind of like my morning coffee, was my caffeine Cliff Bar. So I kind of ate that in the morning. And then lunchtime, I tried to be pretty clean. So I would have like a tortilla and either like vegan tuna, which I didn't even know existed until I got on the trail. And vegan tuna packets. I think I found vegan tuna packets until we left Virginia. I think they were in like
What's vegan tuna?
Yeah, so it comes in I don't know what it is. I think
oh god.
Maybe like soy protein, I think.
Okay. That makes sense. That's what I would think.
Before I was vegan, I didn't even like tuna. So like I was not interested. And honestly, I feel like Pick or someone found it for me. It was like Pick or Nap, somebody found it. And I tried it and I was like, this is the best thing ever. I don't know
if you get sick of it ever?
Huh?
Did you end up getting sick of it or no?
No. I probably have eaten that every day. But it wasn't available in the north like it was in the south. But most grocery stores had it. The brand was Loma Linda. And you can buy them on Amazon. So like for future hikes, I'll just order some from Amazon. But they're pretty clean and they had good flavors. And then I try to bring like an avocado and put that in the wrap. And that was pretty good at keeping me full for lunch. Yeah. Sometimes I'd have like some dried apricots or like prunes or dates or something with lunch. And then some sort of like trail mixy thing for a snack later. And then dinner, some sort of backpacking meal kit type of thing.
Is there a brand? Because I know there are those packet like freeze dried meals that are vegan. Do you remember the brand for those?
So Backpacker's Pantry has several flavors that are vegan, and those are pretty easy to find at like Walmart and stuff. And they'll typically have one flavor that's vegan at least. Good to Go was my favorite one.
Yep.
Those are
they're good.
Yeah. So I try to like treat myself to one of those per resupply if it was available somewhere. Outdoor Herbivore is one that does all vegetarian stuff. Okay. And they have a lot of vegan ones. I've never tried those, but I've heard good things about them. Okay. Yeah, so those Backpacker's Pantry and the Good to Go's were the ones I used the most.
Yeah. Those Good to Go are like, they're really good. They have a lot of good stuff in them.
I think the first time we had that was we had some friends meet us on trail, and we were all gonna camp at the same place. They ended up leaving because it was freezing cold at night.
It was the worst night.
Their house was like not far.
Yeah.
So they left, but they left us good to go meals. So
thanks, Lindsay and Andrew.
yeah, that was a good dinner.
Yeah. Did you take any like supplements to like supplement the iron or B12?
So I brought just like a vegan multivitamin. I think I changed up the brands along the way. I packed a bunch in the beginning, and then I think I ordered some on Amazon like halfway through and had it shipped to me on trail. So I took that. I tried to every morning or like after I ate. And then I had like a joint health supplement that I took in the beginning of the trail. That lasted me actually quite a while. And I just made sure it was vegan, and I just bought that from Amazon. But I didn't take any iron supplements or anything like that. This may be like too much TMI, but I know that iron makes people like not be able to go to the bathroom. Like I know that's like a side effect on the bottle. And I was really worried about that when I was like, that's a terrible problem that you might, can you imagine like,
no,
like having to hike
just like
long and not being able to go to the bathroom?
Stopped up.
Yeah, so I refused. My boyfriend actually told me, he's like, you should really bring iron, and I was like, no, I'll be okay without it. So I didn't pack iron.
Well, yeah, that's somebody asked that on the Facebook group, and obviously it doesn't really matter because you're here and you finished.
Okay,
so.
yeah. And I know iron is something that, I mean, I'm sure you're okay if you take it, but I know it's one of those supplements they say like get it approved from your doctor first, because it can have like an adverse effect if you take too much. Like it could be more harm than good for you. So I don't know that I have like an iron problem, so I figured I'd be fine without it.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, so were you ever, I don't know if we ever, no, I don't think we got into this, but were you ever conscious of like your calorie intake? Was it hard to maintain your weight? Because I know just from like me and Jonathan comparing us, and we typically had the same diet. Jonathan ate a little more, but he lost a lot more weight than I did. And it's kind of known that like women kind of maintain their weight and guys like drop a bunch of pounds. But this might be different for everyone. But were you conscious of your calories, and was it hard to maintain your weight?
I weighed myself before I left, and I weighed myself when I got back, and I was the exact same number.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Like I was kind of a little frustrated because I was like, I want to come back with some like huge change. Not that I like wanted to lose weight, but like some sort of like big physical change. And there, no, I just came back with like bruises. Like there was nothing, like, anything major. So no, I didn't really have to worry about it. It wasn't something I was really conscious of, especially in the beginning because I was overpacking food. So in the beginning, I really only ate when I was hungry, and I don't think it was till the end when I really started like caring about like how much food. Like I didn't want to overpack because I knew like we were getting towards the end. It wasn't like, oh, I'll eat it eventually. And I cared about the weight a little bit more because we were doing like a lot of those tough climbs, and so I tried to pack like as little as I had to get by. And on our last resupply, I sat and I like calculated how many calories I had in the day from like all my wrappers. And I think I was at like 3,000.
Wow.
Which is a lot. Like
from just like snacks and wrappers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was probably like overeating at the end, but it was my incentive, like, oh, you can have this snack when you get to the top of the mountain, or when you start how the whole day is revolved around. When's our next snack break? When's our next meal? It was just kind of set up that way. So I mean, I definitely increased my calories at the end, but I was so hungry at the end too.
Yeah. Oh, same. 100-mile wilderness. What was that like for you guys? Oh.
It was rough. I mean, we did the food drop, so we didn't have to.
Oh, that halfway or whatever.
Yeah, but there were definitely times when I remember like having to put my food out in front of me at the end of the day, and be like, okay, I'm only allowed to eat this. The food, I would like physically put my food bag somewhere else because I knew I would just like keep going and keep going. And,
Right. Yeah, we all kind of hit that in 100 miles too.
We ran out of food.
You did. She didn't count her days when she was buying for that section. I think like you just kind of like got your normal food, and she ended up being a day short. So like when we all set our food, because we did the same thing you did, we set our food out because we're all starving. Like I remember saying we all kind of agreed like we could literally eat everything in our food bag right now.
Yeah.
But we have 3 more days.
I was so hungry. That was the most I was ever. I don't know if it was because like just the thought of like I can't get off the trail anywhere if I'm really hungry if I run out of food. I don't know if it was that thought or just like.
And you're so close to finishing too. Just like, and then you just start dreaming of all the food that you're about to eat when you finish. Yeah.
I would put myself on like food thoughts that would last like 5 or 10 minutes where I'm really just thinking about pizza or like something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have I really been thinking about food for this long? But you have all the time out there, but like that was one of the number one things that I would continue to go through on my thought cycle was food.
Yeah.
Here's a question, just off topic. Pizza.
Yeah.
What do you order for pizza?
Okay.
What's pizza for Tate?
Yeah.
So most pizza crusts are vegan, not all, but a lot of the places are. Like a lot of the fast food chains are. And that's an easy like Google. You can just see what crusts are available. And then I would just order it without cheese. And a lot of people are like, oh, the cheese is the best part. But like really, if you get a lot of toppings, you don't miss it. And I carried a bag of nutritional yeast. Have you ever tried nutritional yeast?
Yeah, I have some in our pantry.
Yeah, so it
tastes just like cheese.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Parmesan cheese texture, or like fish flakes is almost what it seems like that you feed fish. And it has a cheesy taste. And so I carried that with me on trail. And I think I used it more for town food than I did for actual cooking on trail because every time we went to town almost there was pizza, so I just add that there.
And you just put that on your pizza in town?
Yeah.
How have I not seen any of this stuff?
That bag lasted me until Shaw's, and I left it at Shaw's. I was so mad.
Oh no.
Wow. We got pizza at Shaw's, and I used like the very last of it. It lasted me the whole trail.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. That's a big bag. I think we might have the same bag. It has a little chef man on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It
well, let me get it so I can show everyone.
And it actually has like I think there's vitamin B12 in it too. Like it's really good for your health, but I eat it more for a taste. But it's kind of ridiculous. People will think it's ridiculous that I carried this bag the whole time with me. But
yeah, especially with how little you carried.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, the Red Mill one.
It's a good source of B vitamins, including B12, 8 grams of protein per serving. Yeah.
He looks like a golfer more than a chef.
Yeah. In my head, he looked like a chef, but he's a golfer instead.
Is he a golfer?
Old Bob's.
No, he makes a lot of good stuff. But I used to take ramen noodles and olive oil, and then I'd put the nutritional yeast in there, and it was kind of like a mac and cheese type of thing. And I had like a seasoning like shaker that had like garlic and like salt and pepper in it, and it was when I was feeling crafty.
Yeah, it sounds like some of your meals were better than our meals.
Yeah.
They were
our meals.
Good. I don't know if you remember, but I started cold soaking. So that's another thing. It's like if you take 2 odd like food choices and put them together, people will find out I was vegan. They're like, what? And then you also cold soak? What?
What do you do? I remember that. That's the question I had. Like, how did you cold soak? Like, I guess it's easy, like pastas and stuff, and ramen and all that kinds of stuff. But those are 2 odd things that like coexist in a weird world.
Mm-hmm. And I really started
trail life.
Yeah, I just started cold soaking because I was too lazy to cook at night. Like I would not want to cook my food, so I started eating my ramen raw, and I prefer that over cooking it. And so I was like, why am I carrying the stove if the only thing I cook at night is dinner? So
I think if I were to go back, I guess this could be helpful for future hikers, but because we never got into cold soaking, and so we just carried that pot.
The beans.
Yeah, but that was a failure. Don't buy raw beans.
they don't hydrate.
You're never gonna be able to cook beans on the trail. It doesn't matter how long you soak them. Just don't buy them, okay?
We got it. We understand. We got it.
Well, we learned that the hard way.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think because like having a hot meal is great for cold weather, or having like a hot drink is great when it's cold out. But like one, it takes up a lot more time to cook everything. Then you have to clean everything.
Find the fuel at grocery stores
and
stuff.
So you're really gonna save time and money if you like get rid of your pot and like cooking stuff and move over to cold soaking.
And wait.
Yeah.
You just have one plastic low container.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was definitely nice in the beginning. I mean, I did appreciate it when it was cold out to have, especially like for boiling water, I would put it in. I also carried an Algene bottle, so I would sleep with it with the boiling water in it, and that helped. But when it warmed up, I didn't miss it at all.
Yeah. That if I was to do it again, it would probably be like colder weather, bring the stove. When it gets warmer, just let it
Send it home with like your winter gear. Or
yeah.
Yeah, I think I would do that too.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right. Next question. So we went through a lot of your food bag. But when you started switching over, or maybe like a resupply didn't have everything you needed, we pretty much went over like all your like healthier, like real cooking, foods. But when you went over to like just garbage food, what did that look like?
I made a list.
Oh wow, okay.
I started thinking about it through the day. I'm like, what were my favorite junk foody things? Okay, so Cliff Bars. I know you guys said you got sick of them. I never got sick of Cliff Bars. I could probably still eat a Cliff Bar every day and be happy. The white chocolate macadamia one, my favorite. I liked the toffee ones with the caffeine. And then I discovered the carrot cake ones, like at the end.
Oh, so wow.
My recommendation.
Yeah, I think those were just up north, weren't they?
Yeah, it was something special, but I was so excited. So I would recommend, if you're going to be eating vegan, like you can look it up. There's like an infograph that actually shows you like pictures of the ones that are and aren't, which made it helpful when I was shopping. I don't know. I went like all on one flavor. And then when I started to get tired of that flavor, I'd move to the next one and then the next one. And that kind of helped me, I don't know, mix it up and keep it fresh. So those, a lot of potato chips are, most potato chips, as long as they're not like cheesy flavored, are.
Right.
So I started carrying those a lot and I got this inspiration from Smiley, who has lots of great weird food ideas, but he would crush them up and then eat it with a spoon. And so I started doing that towards the end, like potato chip cereal almost.
But it was just the chips? There wasn't anything else?
But you can't keep them whole when they're in your food bag, so they just get crushed up.
To like a little powder almost?
Yeah, kind of a powder.
With a spoon?
Weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. I can see him coming up with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was on purpose, but I saw it one day. So I did that for a while. Bagels. I try to eat somewhat gluten-free-ish when I'm at home. And so like that all went out the window when I was on trail. And I was so excited. I was eating bagels a lot. Let's see. My candy. Okay, so a lot of candy. This is called accidental vegan when they're not like marketed as vegan products, but they don't contain any, animal products in it. So Mike and Ike's, most vegans will say those are vegan. There's like a controversial ingredient in there, but I will pass those as vegan. Gobstoppers. And so a trick, what I would do is put like hard candies in with the soft candies in one bag, because it would keep you from eating them too fast because you mixed it up.
Didn't Pick did the same thing?
No, it
didn't
was
he?
Abe.
Was it Abe?
Yeah, he got
Oh,
Jolly
hard
Ranchers.
candies, yeah.
He got Jolly Ranchers the one time. He's like, well, it helps me not eat them
That's
so
right,
fast.
yeah.
And I said, don't tell me how to live my life.
I would go towards the end. I would leave town with like 5 boxes of Mike and Ike's, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I would go through one a day. So
Wow.
a lot of candy at the end.
That
yeah.
goes to all of your sugar crashes.
Yeah, and then I mean, we all I think tried the chia seed cake batter.
Yep, breakfast.
Yeah, so that was a staple in my diet for a while.
Was it brownie or
brownie?
cake mix? It was brownie mix.
I think I just went with whatever was available. A lot of cake mixes are vegan if you don't add, the eggs and the butter and stuff like that. Right? So I just read the ingredients if it was vegan.
For those who don't know what that is, could you explain what the famous brownie chia seed mixture is and how do you make it?
I feel like that was only like within our trail family.
Yeah.
But, it's a good trail.
But that is right when I started hiking with y'all, and you were all doing it, and I thought that was like the thing to do, so I started doing it too, and I liked it. So you take chia seeds, you take your empty bottle, put the chia seeds in, the cake batter, just raw, or brownie batter, a bag of it, not the whole bag at once, but as much as you can fit in there, and then water, and then just shake it up and just let it sit.
There's your breakfast
chunky shake thing.
Yeah.
But when you got a chunk, it was so good.
It was
It's like, oh my gosh, and it's good.
Yeah. So like it had a lot of calories. That was good.
It was cheap. Well, the chia seeds are a little pricey, but I mean.
But there's a ton of them. Like, you usually split them with the other hikers because it comes in a huge box.
Yeah, and Gatorade bottles are the best for putting the brownie mix and the chia seeds in.
And there's protein in it. And that was a way, like when I sent my stove home, I kind of stopped eating or drinking coffee in the morning. Yeah. And I would sometimes put my coffee packet in with it.
Yeah, and that was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
That was
like
really
the little
good.
mocha chia seed.
Yeah. Oh. And a common mistake would be to let it sit too long, and then all of the chia seeds are completely expanded, and it just turns into like this thick sludge. And
sometimes I'd be walking and just going like this, waiting for it to fall in my mouth, and it would never go. It's just so hard cemented into my Gatorade.
Yeah, Flipper always told this story, but one time that happened to him, and so he's standing there drinking, and I said, Flipper, how's that drink? And it's upside down, and he goes, it's thick. And then he goes right back, and it still hasn't come out yet.
Oh man, yeah, those are good.
Okay, so besides the brownie mix and the chia seeds, what else is there on your list?
Okay, so uniced Pop-Tarts, the blueberry, the strawberry, and I think the brown sugar one. I never found those uniced, I think, but one store, and by that time I was over Pop-Tarts. But those for a while. Okay, frozen bean burritos. When I would go to town, I would try to microwave them in the hotel or whatever hostel, and then pack those out for dinner. So that was so that was kind of like a town treat that packed really well. A couple times I did that and waited 2 days before I ate them, and they were I was okay. So I try to pack out town food as much as possible. Bananas in the beginning. I know that's not junk food, but I would try to treat myself to a banana. A couple times I would wait a few days and eat them, but then you're stuck with the peel for a few days, which kind of got gross. But sometimes it's worth carrying the gross garbage for some fresh food. But
yeah. And then you also said you did avocados for a little bit there too. So fresh fruits and vegetables, did you just do bananas and avocados, or did you bring other items?
Those were the most common. A handful of times I would bring baby carrots. And those are heavy, but they're great to share with other hikers. So if I want to get rid of this within a day, I would munch on them through the day, and they're easy to share with people. let's see, citrus was another easy one because the peels are, they keep it in good shape. So an orange now and then. One time I brought a bag of spinach. That it was fine. I just throw it on wraps. Yeah, those are the main ones. Berries. Two in the beginning, like in the South, when I still have my Nalgene, Nab and I would put like berries, like blueberries in our Nalgene, and then use it with the peanut butter or almond butter for kind of like a peanut butter and jelly. And that was good. But then once you get up north, there's berries everywhere, so you don't have to buy them. And I would snack on those a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was something I had no idea that we would come across. It's just like all the berries, like you said, like you're not gonna see them at first because one, the season, but then also you're just not really gonna see them as much in the South. But yeah, up north there's tons of berries, wild berries that you can pick. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's you mentioned this earlier a little bit, but I was just thinking about it as Jonathan was talking. I wasn't really listening to him. Sorry.
It happens occasionally.
I'll just sit there and shake my head. So were there ever times that you had a weak resupply due to your diet, such as like I know you mentioned gas stations and the small groceries. I know at Human Nature Hostel, I know y'all stayed there, but there's that one gas station that I was thinking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like our only place to resupply.
Yeah. Okay, we spent so long in that gas station trying to I feel like it was hard for everybody to resupply, but specifically I was having a rough time. The good thing is the Human Nature Hostel had vegan options for dinner. I don't know if you guys got their dinner that they did at night, but
they just had
alternate between pizza and then do burgers the other night. And they had vegan options for both nights, which was really nice. So I didn't have to worry about while I was staying there. But I think I bought peanut butter crackers because they didn't even have tortillas, I think, when we were there. They were really sold out of stuff. So I did peanut butter crackers for lunch, but I would eat 4 packets of them. I think that was probably my most expensive resupply. Of all. I want to say I spent $70 at a gas station for a few days, which was horrible. I mean, yeah, that was a rough resupply. So if anybody's going to Human Nature, I don't even know what town that is exactly. Maybe that would be a good place to send yourself a box. Yeah, there's another one, the Hostel of Maine, which wasn't that far from Human Nature. I think it was maybe 5 days. They also had a rough resupply. In town. It was a gas station and it was really expensive. It was okay, but it was really expensive for what you're buying, gas station food. But they did have some things at hostels, and a lot of hostels have a few backpacker meals available. So that's one thing. If you come across a backpacker meal, maybe pick one up, even though they are a little pricier, but you're guaranteed a meal. Yeah, I always carried an extra meal with me at all times, just in case I ran across something where I needed it, or someone else needed something. But
that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, it was definitely up north where I would run into the problems with resupply, but it was really I could count on one hand the times that I had trouble. And it really wasn't that bad because, you're only eating that for a couple days and then you hit something else that's a Walmart. Yeah.
Nice.
Here's a question, and then I'll let you ask the question. So I have a peanut butter allergy, and I know some people on Facebook will mention this. What are the best protein sources besides peanut butter? And also, this might be difficult because you mentioned this. There was a girl wondering about gluten-free vegan options.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's peanut butter in a lot of stuff, and I'm sure you can attest, especially backpacking stuff. That's an easy, cheap, go-to flavor. So almond butter or other nut butters are easy ones, or just raw nuts. I would carry a lot of trail mix that I would kind of make myself. I just prefer to do it that way, and so I'd buy a bag of, cashews, and then a bag of raisins, and then just kind of mix it together as I would go. fake meats, if you can find them like in grocery stores and Walmarts, they'll always have like tofurkey or fake ham or whatever it's called. Yeah, the fake meat. And the nice thing about that is, you know, you don't really have to worry about like meat spoilage as much. I mean, I wouldn't eat it like 5 days out, but I would pack out like tofurkey slices and eat it for like 2 or 3 days, and it was fine not being refrigerated. So that's a good one for protein. I packed out like a block of tofu a time or two.
Really?
I mean, it's not really flavorful to me if you don't season it and stuff, but if you need it for, you know, a little bit of extra protein in your meal, if you have a stove too, that would probably taste much better than cold soaking a block of tofu. Yeah. Yeah, I think I really like made it harder for myself with the cold soaking, but it still wasn't that bad. And then when I went back and did that like makeup section, I did bring vegan protein powder that I hadn't packed with me on like
Interesting.
trip. And I had that in the morning and I mixed it with my coffee. And I mean, it's kind of like the chia seed. I mean, you kind of gotta like force it sometimes, but it was fine. And for the amount of protein, knowing that I like was just getting it out of the way in the day, that was a good option.
Nice.
Yeah.
Free, I don't know. I mean, that would be tough to do vegan and gluten free. Like rice cakes are gluten free. So if instead of doing like tortillas, that would be a good like vehicle to like put things on, you know, and things like that. And they have gluten-free oatmeal and
gluten's in so much. I don't think I've ever realized how many things gluten is in. Same with meat. I haven't really done much research, but yeah.
All right. We're coming close to the end of our questions. One for you, just like what kind of advice? Is there any kind of other advice? You've probably gotten that question before, but like, what are your go-to pieces of advice other than the one you've already shared? Because we did that video. With our other hikers, and you actually you brought that point up.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. Number one thing is I would practice. Like me, I thought ahead of time, like, oh, I know all these things I actually like. I'll just buy them in bulk.
Right.
Do that unless like I don't know. I'm just gonna. It's a waste of money, or you're stuck eating it when you get home when you don't use it. So what I would do is like go to your town and find like the worst possible option you can think of, like a gas station or like maybe a Dollar General or something, and like. Not typically where you would shop, and just go in there and do like a practice run. Yeah. And you don't have to buy the stuff, but just like pick it out and think like, what could I do? And just try to get like crafty with it. And some of the worst resupplies, like Dollar Generals weren't that bad, but I mean, it's not your typical like grocery shopping experience. I came up with like really good things that I would like continue to buy normally just because I was like forced to try it at a Dollar General. Right. So I would just like go and practice and see what you can come up with. It's kind of fun. Like it is fun when you think of something new and innovative, because you're just, you know, eating the same types of things over and over. So I would recommend that. Something I would try to do, now I didn't send myself a lot of boxes, but there is the bounce box option where, you know, you can pack a box and then as long as you don't open it, you can call the post office or just go to the post office and have it sent ahead on the trail. And I did that with gear, but I didn't think about doing that with food. And I wish that I would have, like, at a really good resupply, maybe packed myself a box and just kept bouncing it ahead. Like, got to a place where I knew wasn't going to have a good option. So that's something that I would recommend, maybe just having it as a backup, because it only costs you that one time to ship it.
Right.
Let's see. Don't pre-buy. Let's see, I went over that. Oh, not food related, but a lot of hiking gear isn't vegan as far as like the materials used. So just kind of thought I'd kind of wrap that in, like wool and down aren't. So maybe exploring like alternative, like synthetic materials. I carried like a synthetic sleeping bag, and like I think most people's puffies are synthetic. out on the trail, but that's just something to look into, you know.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever really thought about that.
Yeah.
Vegan, like in your clothing as well.
Yeah, and all of the products that you buy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's things like hiking boots and like shoes. I mean, obviously they use rubbers, and that's something that's so like specific to your foot. You can't just buy the one like vegan hiking boot that's out there. But
Right.
you know, if you are gonna make those choice, like if you do know, like I really need a down bag for whatever reason, like look into buying it secondhand. So that, you know, I just think of like my dollars as like, who am I like voting for essentially? Like I'm voting for like a vegan choice. So if I know that I'm buying something secondhand, it's not going like directly to the company. So yeah.
Yes, girl.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. That's everything I've been talking about, right?
Yeah, secondhand stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, my entire wardrobe is secondhand clothes.
No way.
Yeah. So, I mean, besides some of my hiking stuff, you know, like I have like a pair of leather shoes, like I'm okay. And that's a choice that some vegans, you know, will say, oh, you can't buy anything but if I could buy like a cheapo pair of shoes that's not vegan, or a secondhand, you know, leather pair that's going to last me way longer, I would make that choice. So
yeah, that's a great point. That's so great. Yay.
I'm
Is
glad.
that all of the pieces of advice that you had?
I think so.
Those are some great. So you said practice your grocery store, so like Dollar Generals and really crappy gas stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the vegan materials as well.
Or gear or whatever, the gear that you get.
Yeah, I think those are really great points.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we follow you on Instagram?
So my Instagram is Tate Takes a Hike.
Takes a Hike.
TATE takes a hike.
All right, we'll put that down below. Well, if you guys have any questions for Puppet or Tatum, you can follow her on Instagram. And is it all right if they message you and ask any questions?
Please do.
So she is happy to answer any questions. And I feel like it's good to talk about the vegan style of backpacking. That's because it's becoming a pretty large thing, like being vegan and vegetarian. I think it's like me and Jonathan, we're trying our best to become vegetarian. So I think it's really becoming a thing, a lifestyle for a lot of people. And I think this video will really help those that are looking to be vegetarian, vegan on the Appalachian Trail this coming season. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Puppet. Thank you.
See you, Puppet.
See ya.